Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Jesus here, the J in JNR Athletics, and today I'm going to be giving my predictions for the KSI Misfits X DAZN Fight Series Volume 1, whatever its weird, incredibly long name is. We're going to go from the bottom of the card to the top, all the way to the main event, and I'm going to be giving my predictions on each fight and sort of little details that I think about each of them. I think we should start with the semi-main event, but also opening act of the night. It's KSI versus Swarms, the cruiserweight bout officially. And Swarms shows very little boxing technique compared to JJ. He's much better than somebody who has trained for as long as he has. I mean, only 2 weeks of training isn't a lot of time, but he is much better than I expected him to be from based on his open workout. But JJ is just going to work him with a more sophisticated jab, even though his jab is probably one of his weakest punches that he has in his arsenal. As Swarms will constantly remind you of, is that he's a madman. And I think that will mean that he will be a very tough opponent and he won't go down. I think it's a second round KO or TKO for KSI in his first fight of the night, and I think he gets out of there relatively unscathed. Next fight on the card is Dean the Great versus Evil Hero. Now this is a boxing match that I'm actually very excited for because Dean the Great is somebody I've been watching for a long time. But something I do have to mention about this fight is that while Dean is the more technical of the two, Evil Hero has actual fight experience in the ring. Why? Right? Dean the Great has actually only boxed in the street for his YouTube videos for police officers, for crazy videos that got views, right? Like they're very interesting videos. I've watched them. He's never stepped into an arena and walked into a ring. He's never even had an amateur bout, which is something that I thought that was very interesting, that he's never even stepped amateurly to fight. Evil Hero has fought under the BKFC banner, which he was on the Paige Van Zant versus Rachel Ostovich. I believe I'm saying that right. Rachel Ostovich card. That was BKFC 19. And I can't find the actual gate numbers to see if that event was sold out, but based on the footage I've seen of their boxing matches and other fights on that card, it was a lot of people, right? Not nearly O2 Arena level of people, but it was a lot of people, right? And we've seen Dean sort of lack in performance in front of a large group of people. Take Happy Punch's first event where they had like this sort of street boxing thing, and that event made Dean look a lot worse than he actually was. And he was getting clipped by somebody like an overweight super hot fire, which is the meme guy who says psych, that's the wrong number, and then falls back into all of his friends. Like that's him. He's not a boxer. His whole brand is boxing. So to see Dean get clipped by a guy like that, it's worrying because he's never performed like that in front of the camera normally, but in the moment you get in a massive group of people around him watching him compete, he tends to slow down a bit. He tends to think too much because he wants to look good right in front of all these people. So I do think that Dean will take the W on this one. I believe it'll be a later round stoppage. I think it's 4-4s or 4-3s or 4-2s even, I don't remember, but I think it is only 4 rounds, so I think he'll actually get the finish in the 4th round once he's sort of come into his zone. But I think Evil Hero will actually win the 1st round. That's my big prediction so far. Sam Hyde versus I Am Thompson. Sam Hyde was supposed to fight on the Creator Clash 1 card, I believe, and then he got cut for whatever reason. I don't know the drama behind that. And I Am Thompson has shown zero boxing footage. I mean, at least nothing I could find. I couldn't even find a picture of him in boxing gloves. So on Google, so it's the only thing we have to go off is their open workout, which I don't even think they were part of the open workout. At least I didn't see any footage of them actually boxing in the open workout. Sam Hyde has actually shown some boxing footage. Shows him hitting the bag, right? It's all arm punches, no real hip rotation into it. His straight punches come up very like wrist front, like his hands are like that when he punches. At least in the footage we've seen, that was all the way back in July. So who knows if he's improved by then? I hope he has. But Sam Hyde is a much bigger guy. Their face-off, you could see that Sam Hyde was almost towering over I Am Thompson, and I think this is going to be relatively quick. I don't think his Ian Thompson's violin skills will help him against a beast of a man that is Sam Hyde. So I think a first or second round stoppage for Sam Hyde is pretty good odds on for me. We have a very interesting fighter here. We have Salt Poppy versus Andy Wardsky. Now Andy was very confident in the press conference that was released very recently. He was talking like he knows something we don't, and you know he might be much better than he's let on. But there isn't much footage on Andy, and Salt Poppy is more proven than him. He has wins in the scene. He's boxed on Showstar cards, I believe, and he's won with technique. He was a big dude then. He didn't win with just power. He won with technique by styling on his opponent. That's not something you see at this level in the scene. And then Salt Poppy's very obviously locked in. I mean, the transformation you saw from his first fight to now with the amount of weight loss, I mean, it's a very, very humbling thing to see, and it's very impressed, very impressive. I think Salt Poppy takes this by a third round stoppage, but I think TKO. I don't think he knocks Andy Warski out cold, because I feel like he has something to give us as well, based on the way he acted in the press conference. Face Sensei versus King Kenny. Now this is my fight of the night pick. This is the fight that I am very excited for. Sensei's been talking about war, talking about bleeding, been talking about moving forward, and honestly that's when Sensei's the best. When Sensei's moving forward and using his aggression, not being on the back foot trying to snipe, because he always struggles when somebody puts pressure on him. In the Gibb sparring, in the KSI sparring, we saw they're both Gibb and KSI's best moments while they were on the offense, right? And even then, Sensei is still, tagging them with shots because he's a very educated striker, right? He comes from a karate background. He comes from his father was an amateur boxer. Like, this guy knows what he's doing, and it's a very, very ballsy move to take a big risk on fighting Sensei on King Kenny's part. It is most definitely a potential fight tonight, and Sensei, I believe, wins it with a, let's go, fourth round stoppage, if not a decision. Now it's the one that I really can't pick a winner for. I just cannot pick a winner for this. It's very difficult. I've been going back and forth. But Deji versus Fuzi is a very, very difficult fight to call, because Deji has shown time and time again that he's technically better than a lot of the guys in this scene. Deji is a very naturally gifted boxer, right? He has the power. When you hear him crack those pads in videos, it's nasty. Something is stopping him from when he walks out into that ring to perform to his best ability. And Fuzi is locked in, like, unbelievably. This man's transformation is, I would say, even more impressive than Salt Poppy's transformation. Like, he went from being morbidly obese, calling himself Rose, saying that Drake was going to come to his events when he's probably never spoken a word to Drake outside of an ignored DM. But it's very difficult to call. My heart says Deji, my head says Fuzi. I know that Fuzi has a lot of power in his hands. It's something that Deji hasn't had to deal with before. Everybody firing back on Deji, even in the first Jake Paul fight, none of them have the power that Fuzi's going to put on people. We've seen Fuzi put people down, and for the biggest example being Alex Wasabi, where he was getting tagged the entire match, and it only took one to put Alex Wasabi down, and he was out. He said he got up looking at the star saying, "He's strong." Fuzi had him speaking caveman. That's how hard he hit this man. So Fuzi most definitely has power, and being mentally locked in, I'm a big believer that being mentally locked in and working harder is going to help you more in a fight or even a boxing match or anything in life, more than just being naturally gifted at it. I hope Deji wins. Don't get me wrong, I want Deji to win. But I'm picking Fuzi by, is it 6 rounds? I don't believe it's 6 rounds, but I'm going to pick Fuzi by 4th round stoppage. And now for the co-main event. This is a very interesting co-main event because it's very short notice, so we have no idea, right? Slim just fought 10 months ago, and he's not had a full camp for this fight, and Temper is one of the guys in the scene that look like they can be a lot better. They can get very skilled. But from the King Kenny fight, right, you see you see the Temper has an issue with keeping his chin in the air, and Slim has called this out. He's very good at watching film, as he says that he's always been watching film his whole life. And Slim's, for all this, for him being so slim, he's the only one of the two that has shown to have knockout power. He put a guy to sleep, had him laying on his back for God knows how long. Like, Temper hasn't done that. In his one boxing outing, it went to decision on the night they said he lost. Sure, I'm not gonna say it wasn't a robbery, but he didn't put Kenny out. If he had put Kenny out, he wouldn't have been robbed. I think Slim is being very much underrated in this match, and Temper's very skilled, and I think he's going to make it a scrap, but I am picking Slim. I'm picking the underdog in this one. I think Slim is going to take this by a decision. I don't think he puts Temper out. So I'm picking Slim. But you know what? Final round stoppage. I don't know how many rounds they're going for this one, but I'm going by last round stoppage. I think it's going to be a late round stoppage when Temper's tired and he realizes he can't hurt this guy like the way he thought he was, and he realizes that Slim hits a lot harder than he thought he does. Slim's going to go in, he's going to cut the space, he's going to land straight punches right down the middle with Temper keeping his chin less defensively responsible. I think Slim finishes it in the final round, lifts his arm up in victory, and yells to the entire O2 arena that he was being underestimated. And now we are on to the is it even fair to call this the true main event? I mean, neither of KSI's fight really have main event qualities. I mean, Swarms doesn't have the skill of a boxer, and Pineda doesn't have the clout of a main eventer, right? Like, he just doesn't, right? Luis Alcaraz Pineda. I'm Hispanic. I come from Mexican background, so, you know, seeing one of my countrymen being put in a position like this, I mean, he has a record of 2-5, 4 of them by knockout, so he most definitely has defensive issues. And JJ needs a finish in this main event. He needs to make a statement that he can stop and definitively defeat a professional fighter, right? It doesn't matter what his record is. At the end of the day, this is a guy who does this, and he wants to do this for a living. He wants to do this for a job. He's had 7 fights, right? He stepped out there 7 times. JJ stepped out there 3, one of them under amateur rules against Joe Weller, who is not the most skilled guy in this scene. Based on Luis's open workout, we do see him moving around a lot, cutting angles, being on the back foot. I do believe that Luis is going to go for a counter punching strategy because he's a much skinnier, longer, lankier guy. He's very tall, doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones, right? He towered over JJ in their face-to-face, towering over Swarms as well, who's a bigger guy weight-wise. KSI needs a finish, and he needs to get in the inside, right? This guy's too long to be trying to box pretty from the outside. He needs to get on the inside and make it a scrap. Hooks to the body. He needs to make him tired because from what we know, JJ has a massive gas tank, and he can go all 6 rounds at a high pace. He did it against Logan, and he'll do it again. I think if this goes to decision, JJ will probably lose this because he needs to get in the inside and finish this guy. Anyway, that's going to be my prediction for the Misfits x DAZN Volume 1 influencer boxing match for the ICB title. I think it's going to be a good card. I believe it's one to watch. I'll be watching. I'll try to get my reaction to each of the decisions of the fights, the finishes. And if you want to see that, make sure you go into my Instagram. I will be posting periodically onto my story on Saturday night. So, thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.